Imagine that life is like a big story, and within it, some very important things need to happen. According to the Christian view, everything follows a plan, and within that plan, there is a mysterious and dark character called the man of sin or the first beast. It doesn't just appear once, but several times over time. As the days pass and the end of times approaches, it becomes increasingly clear that we are not just watching this story from the sidelines. We are part of it. The Bible warned us about this a long time ago. And if we look closely around us, we can see that we are living in exactly those final days that she described. Think with me, have you noticed how it seems like the world is at a decisive moment? This isn't just something people talk about. For anyone who looks at what the Bible teaches, this is very real. Time is not just passing, every second you run brings us closer to something that was predicted a long time ago. It's not just an idea in the air. It's like a giant clock ticking time, advancing non-stop to a crucial moment, the arrival of someone very dangerous. The Bible calls him many names: the man of sin, the first beast, the wicked one, the Antichrist. Whatever the name, it represents something scary. And we are right in the middle of this story. It's not something to ignore. What this Antichrist will do is shocking, and just thinking about it gives you goosebumps. But this warning is not to cause fear, it is to make us think and pay attention. It is a call for Christians to stay open, strong and prepared for what comes next. Today's sermon has two very important objectives. First, to warn about the real presence of the spirit of Antichrist in the world. And second, show how this is paving the way for landmark events in 2025. We are living at a pivotal moment in history. Things seem to be increasingly confusing, the truth is being distorted and evil is gaining ground. In the Bible, the Apostle John helps us understand this. In 1 John 4 verse 3, he says that any spirit that does not recognize Jesus does not come from God. This means that the spirit of Antichrist is already acting, influencing society, the media and even some communities. Before the Antichrist appears as a real person, his spirit will already be operating in the world, preparing everything. John also warns us in 1 John 2 verse 18, "This is the last hour, and just as you have heard that Antichrist is coming, so many Antichrists have arisen." This shows that we shouldn't wait for this to happen in the future, it's already happening now. But this is not a reason for fear, but for attention. Instead of just focusing on a specific person, we need to look at what is happening around us, the growth of evil, the confusion about what is right and wrong, and the increasing presence of deception. These are clear signs of the times we are living in. What to do? Remain firm in the truth, seek wisdom in God and not get carried away by what the world tries to impose. Light always overcomes darkness, and when we are with God, we can see everything more clearly. In these difficult times, more than ever, we need to be attentive and have spiritual discernment. The spirit of Antichrist did not begin his work now, he has already been influencing the world for a long time. And in 2025, this will only continue, following what the Bible has already warned us about. The first point we must observe today is not exactly what the Antichrist is going to do, but rather what we, as Christians, need to notice around us. One of the clearest signs is political unrest. The world is full of conflicts, crises and divisions, and this is no coincidence. This global instability is part of a bigger picture, paving the way for the Antichrist to emerge. The Bible shows us that, before his arrival, the world will be in a state of chaos, exactly as we see it today. Nations are divided, people are tired of so much confusion and there is a huge desire for peace. This global desire creates the perfect environment for someone to appear promising a solution, a false peace that, in reality, will be deceptive. Therefore, we need to be careful. Not everything that seems good comes from God. The world may cry out for peace, but true peace only comes from Christ. What can we do? Pray, seek wisdom in the Word and not let ourselves be deceived by empty promises. Now, more than ever, we need open spiritual eyes to recognize what is really happening. The Bible gives us important clues about how the Antichrist will act. In Daniel 8 verse 25, it is written, "With cunning he will make deceit prosper, he will be filled with pride and deceive many with the promise of peace. He will rise up against the Prince of Princes, but he will be destroyed without human intervention." This shows us that the Antichrist isn't going to appear as a scary villain right away. On the contrary, he will use peace as a mask to hide his true intentions. He will deceive many people by appearing to be a trustworthy leader and coming up with solutions that will seem good at first. Another excerpt from the Bible that reinforces this idea is in 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 3, when they say, "Peace and security, then sudden destruction will come, like birth pains to a pregnant woman, and no one will escape." This verse warns us that when the world is believing that it has finally found peace and stability, it will be exactly at that moment that true chaos will begin. Paul, in that same chapter, talks about the day of the Lord, a time when God will bring judgment on those who did not believe in him. This event happens after the rapture, described in 1 Thessalonians 4 verses 15 to 17, where all Christians will be taken by Christ, leaving the earth behind. What does all this teach us? That we cannot trust any promise of peace. We need to be careful, because not everything that seems good really comes from God. The true path to peace and security lies not in human leaders, but in Jesus. Whoever trusts in him will not be deceived and will be ready for what is to come. The day of the Lord will begin in a way that no one expects, especially for those who do not believe. At first, everything will seem fine, the world will be talking about peace and security. But suddenly this tranquility will be broken, just as labor pains take a woman by surprise. In the first moments after the rapture, those left behind will believe they have finally found a time of peace. But this feeling will only be an illusion. The Bible, in Daniel 9 verse 27, talks about a peace treaty that will be signed by the Antichrist. At first, everything will seem perfect, especially for Israel, which will feel safe. But in the midst of this period of tribulation, the agreement will be broken, and the dark reality will begin to appear. The Antichrist will emerge as a charismatic leader, someone who seems to have all the answers to the world's problems. He will use global chaos and disorder to his advantage, promising stability and harmony. Many people will be deceived into believing that he is the solution. But this peace will be fleeting, as your true intention will be revealed over time. Now, I'm not saying that the Antichrist will appear in 2025, the truth is that no one knows exactly when that will happen. But here's something to think about, the Bible describes the Antichrist as someone who will arise bringing peace. And looking at what's happening in the world today, this idea seems increasingly possible. Have you ever stopped to think about how he will manage to fool so many people? How will a single man be accepted as a world leader? This shows us the enormous power of manipulation and deception he will have. Now, think with me, when, in history, has all humanity ever accepted a single ruler? When did the entire world unite in peace under one man? When has anyone been treated as a god by all nations? When did people abandon their beliefs and ideologies to follow a single leader? When did all of humanity need to use a brand or symbol to show loyalty to someone? When was there an economic system so rigid that no one could buy or sell without being aligned with a government? When has a leader managed to perform signs and miracles so impressive that they deceived entire nations? When has a ruler managed to negotiate peace in the Middle East, especially between Israel and its neighbors? When has someone had so much charisma and power that they were accepted by completely different and even rival cultures? The answer is simple: never. This has never happened before. But the Bible warns us that one day it will happen. And today's world scenario seems to be increasingly prepared for this. What does this mean for us? That we need to be attentive, seek discernment in God and not fall into deception. Because the only true peace doesn't come from a human leader, it comes from Jesus Christ. The Bible shows us exactly when all this will happen, it's there, in Revelation 13. But we often underestimate the size of the deception that will happen when the Antichrist emerges. What he does will not just be impressive, it will be supernatural. He will not gain power in an ordinary way, like any other leader. He will have a force behind him, and it will not be a good force. The Bible itself says that he will receive power from the dragon, that is, from Satan. In 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 3, it is written, "When they say, peace and security, then sudden destruction will come, like birth pains to a pregnant woman, and no one will escape." This means that the false peace offered by the Antichrist will not last. At first everything will seem perfect, but in the end it will lead to chaos, oppression and deception. He will use pretty promises to gain people's trust, but his real plan will be much worse. Another important point to keep an eye on is something we can call the eyes of the beast. What does this mean? The Antichrist will have an unprecedented level of control over the world, and today's technology is making this increasingly possible. Artificial intelligence, facial recognition, global tracking, all of these, which seem like innovation and practicality, can be used for surveillance and domination. The world is changing quickly, and the stage is being prepared for this control to happen naturally. When everything is ready, the Antichrist will have the perfect tools to monitor, manipulate, and command people. What does this teach us? That we need to be careful. Not everything that looks like progress is a good thing. True discernment comes from God, and that is why we need to seek wisdom from Him and not blindly believe in everything the world presents to us. Technology is advancing so fast that we can barely keep up. Artificial intelligence, facial recognition, global tracking, these are all changing the world in incredible ways. But have you ever stopped to think that these same innovations can also be used for absolute control? Never in history has it been so easy to imagine a system capable of monitoring every person on Earth. If the mark of the beast were implemented today, the technology for it would already be in place. Artificial intelligence, which used to be the stuff of science fiction, is now part of our daily lives. It helps doctors detect diseases, improves city traffic, and even predicts economic trends. But that same power can be used for something much scarier: monitoring behaviors, predicting choices, and controlling what people do. Facial recognition is a perfect example of this. It brings more security and practicality, like unlocking a cell phone without needing a password. But it also allows governments and companies to track every step we take. And do you want to know something even more impressive? Now, cameras don't even need to see your face to know who you are. There is a technology called gait recognition, which identifies a person just by the way they walk. Each of us has a unique walking style, and computers can now analyze these movements and recognize someone even from a distance or in bad images. In other words, it doesn't matter if you are wearing a mask, with your back turned, or in a crowded place, the system can still know exactly who you are. In 2025, this type of technology is increasingly being used for security and surveillance. But is this progress only for our good? Or is he also paving the way for unprecedented global control? Stay tuned. The same technology that makes life easier could, in the future, be used to take away our freedom. We need to be aware of the world we are building and not let ourselves be carried away just by progress, without questioning where it is taking us.